Now, into the ticket office of Disneyland.
Oh boy, let's do this. Don't think the CIA is going to be trying to hack your second-gen iPod.
I didn't think so. There might have been a lot of illegal music on there. I wouldn't doubt it. But, I mean...
You were supposed to bring death to the flagships, not join them.
Google has found a new way to piss me off.
iTunes is a constant source of embarrassment.
Behind-the-scenes camera crap.
Here, tell us about courage, Phil. Tell us about courage.
I am Nadella. I can't do it anymore without laughing. I was going to do the whole thing. Welcome, everyone, to the Calling All Platforms podcast. I am your host, Wes, and I'm here with Landon.
Hello.
And Caleb.
Yeah, that's me.
And we are all so excited to be here from our slight hiatus of, 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Holidays and things. And
Holidays,
no news.
man. Tis the season.
And Caleb is super excited right now. He's super excited to be back. Can you tell?
Look.
Anyway, we're going to get into this. We're going to get into the news this week. Let's go ahead and we're going to start with some Apple. This is at the top of the list here. Just fresh in off the press. Looks like we got here Apple. Zoom launches app for Apple TV.
Yep. They said it would happen, and it did. That's the news. So, I mean, look, this is the one big feature that Apple at WWDC this year announced for the Apple TV was that it was going to support continuity camera on the iPhone, the same as the Macs would, so you can use your phone as a webcam for your Apple TV. And the only thing that supported it was FaceTime, but they're like, it's an API. Everyone else can support it if they want to. And Zoom has finally launched an app that enables that. So I think that that's great. This is basically using your phone and your Apple TV to turn your living room into the equivalent of those enterprise boardroom teleconference systems that used to cost like, I don't know, $5,000 or whatever, and came with a TV and a really high-res camera and that sort of thing. But now you can just have that with your phone and your set-top box. So that's cool. Thanks, Zoom. I've actually been waiting for this for most of the year because I do have like weekly Zoom calls with my family and stuff that we started during the pandemic and nobody wanted to stop. So we're still doing them. But it would be really nice to watch those from my couch on the big screen TV and not have to, just watch it on my dinky little phone screen or whatever. So now I can. Yay! That's it.
And unfortunately, it's not going to stop certain people from yelling at you during a FaceTime or Zoom video call because people think you need to yell in order for them to hear you. You don't. You don't need to do that. Please stop.
It's true. These microphones, remarkably efficient, guys. They'll pick up lots of stuff.
Is that the tuba behind you? Hey! What did she say? I can just see it now.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Well, it looks like that's all the Apple news. Awesome.
Yeah, that is.
We're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to some Google news. Come on down this sheet here. New Google Messages features.
Yay, because that's what everyone wants, is new features in messaging apps.
I mean, I really wanted them to just launch a new messaging app. Not to replace any of their existing ones alongside them.
Oh.
That's what I really wanted from Google.
Don't say that. That's bad mojo right there. Stop.
I mean, they are due. It's been a while since they've released a new messaging app.
Yeah.
Google Messages has been around for quite some time, and so it's about time for it to die and for something else to come out.
Yeah.
But that'll be at I.O. next year, so we got to wait a little while.
There you go. Yeah.
But until then, let's talk about some new features that are already in other apps, because that's just what happens. Other apps come out with features, then everybody else has to copy those features. And that's just the circle of messaging life.
I guess.
So this first one is called Photomoji, which is one of the worst names. I mean, there's so many. We talk about it all the time. So many bad names in tech, and this is one of them. Not a good one, but I mean, this is basically stickers in the way that iOS did it in this new version of iOS, where you can like take a subject out of a photo and turn it into a sticker and send it via messages. Okay, cool, whatever.
Yeah, I forget that I can do that.
I've done it a few times. The main reason I've used it actually is to make different custom emojis inside of Slack. And it's actually very beneficial for that. Then you don't have to like go into Photoshop and edit out the background and stuff. You just do it really easily on your phone. Very nice. But I don't use it to send stickers and messages, but whatever. This next feature is called Voice Moods. Basically, it lets you put a color or style or something on top of a voice message. So the person that is receiving the voice message has an idea of how you want the message to be portrayed before they listen to it, I guess. I don't know. So if it's like I guess if you're really mad at somebody and you send them an angry voice message in messages, you can put on there some angry face emoji or something like that. They can see, I might want to listen to this without other people around. Kind of like on Harry Potter when Ron gets that message that's really his mom is yelling at him,
Oh, yeah. I can't remember what they're called. Scream?
Yeah.
I don't remember either.
Yeah, something like that.
It's kind of like that, but you can do it when if it's a good message or whatever, there's a few different options to choose from in this. So if that's something you've been dying to have, it's there now. There are different new screen effects. So basically, if you send a message that has a certain phrase in it, certain effects will happen. So they gave out two different examples. One was it's snowing, and then your screen starts snowing in the message and whatnot. Or if you say love you or I love you, a bunch of hearts will pop up and all sorts of things on the screen. And they're not telling all of the different phrases, but they say there's over 15, and you can just try to figure out what they are, I guess, if you want to. But those are there now. You can also customize the look of each individual chat. So, and I find it funny, they say it'll make it easier to not send a message to the wrong person, which, okay, that's fair. It probably potentially will if you have, certain people if you message certain people, it's like say you put your partner's messaging chat is now blue or red or something like that, and then your work chats are going to be a different color. You're not going to send a picture or a message to your boss that says I love you on accident. Hopefully, I mean you still might, but this I guess is to help with that, or just
my
to
boss
make it
would send a message back saying you're still coming into work. I don't care. That's what my boss would say. Right back with a heart at the end too.
Yeah. But it's interesting. So that's now a feature. And the one that I would be the most interested in is messages profiles. Basically, what this is kind of like on iOS, this new version of iOS, you can set up I can't even remember what they call it. Basically, your profile picture and whatnot, that people can either use that you send them, or you can still customize what people, like what you have as people's messaging, like their pictures and whatnot.
Yeah.
But this is basically like if you can customize the picture and name and stuff like it's basically your Google profile. So you can already do this, but this will make it so people who don't already have you in their contacts can see your name and photo if you want them to, which is kind of nice. So if you're in a messaging group with a bunch of people that you don't have phone numbers for, if they've set this up, you can see who it is. Like, so you're not just saying, set this number, sent this text message. I don't know who that is. How do I respond to that?
Right. Yeah.
Which I've been in those group messages before. It's really annoying. So this is actually kind of a cool feature. I would assume that you can also block it from just random people getting this information if you don't want them to have it. So I didn't see anything about that, but it would make sense that you can do that.
Yeah.
But it is kind of nice that you now have the option to send that information if you want people to have it. But those are the new features coming to Google Messages. And my discussion question for you two is: how many people actually use these these type of effects and stuff on a regular basis? Like, I understand if people when it's new, if they get a little tutorial on how like the new features, they might use it once or twice, but then all of a sudden, I'm never going to use that again.
I've never so here's the thing, everyone uses even gestures on mobile phones and stuff. I still don't. So messages, I mean, the cool thing I thought was the messaging profiles.
Yeah,
I thought that was kind of cool, but I don't know. I'm not an emoji. I mean, I'll say LOL. There you go. LOL.
Yeah, I think that messaging features like these are probably the best example of modern tech companies not knowing how to relate to the kids, but knowing that they have to, or they're gonna die. Right? Like,
yeah.
Like this is 100% every single one of these. And what Apple has been doing with iMessages over the past like 6 years, all of that is just these companies throwing crap at the wall to find out what sticks. Like, what is going to be the next Snapchat filter, right? Because like that was a feature that Snapchat introduced to their ostensibly just a messaging platform, and it took off. It became a huge phenomenon. Kids loved it. They were using it all the time. Is it functional? Not really. Is it useful? No. Does it serve a purpose? It's just entertaining, right? So they managed to get something that got everybody entertained, and it took off. And so everybody's trying to find the next thing like that. Like, I was just thinking, like, oh yeah, I forgot that I can make custom stickers out of the photos on my phone. And I'm sitting here scrolling through photos like, do I have a good picture of the cat that I could make a sticker out of, whatever? And as I'm doing that, I remembered, oh yeah, iMessage has that thing where it's sort of like, it's the screen effects kind of thing where, you can send a message with a party balloons in the background, and you can send a message with fireworks, or there's a couple of them, and they've added some to them since they launched that feature and whatnot. Like, I forget about these things all the time. I'm sure some people, like a very small portion of their user base, do use them a little bit, but I think that the only thing that Apple has really added to messages over time that people have latched onto are the reactions, right? Like, you can directly react to a message. But beyond that, I don't think they've really introduced anything that people latched onto. But they're going to keep trying, right? They're going to keep trying to find whatever the next big thing is, because that gets people to engage with their messaging app more, and that keeps their customers engaged with their stuff. And I suspect that all of these features are extremely low-hanging fruit. Like, they all seem pretty dead simple and probably not that difficult to maintain and introduce.
Right.
So, not a whole lot of effort, but if they're successful, then they become a part of the cultural zeitgeist, and that matters. So, I don't know. I doubt anybody is going to end up using most of these on a regular basis. Like, probably at all.
Yeah.
But they got to keep trying.
And to be fair, this is a very US-centric conversation, because outside of the US, Google Messages, iMessage don't get used. It's WhatsApp and WeChat, and maybe a few other like Signal and whatnot, but mostly WhatsApp and WeChat. And all of these features are there. Like, it's Apple and Google are trying to get people back to their platforms outside of the US by making these features, because these features have been in these other messaging platforms forever, basically.
And I'd be willing to bet that in those messaging platforms like WhatsApp, they probably aren't used that much there either.
Probably.
It's like WhatsApp is on the same boat as Google and Apple, trying to find whatever the next big thing is going to be in this space, and they're working on it. Mm-hmm. Who knows what it'll be? It honestly might be TikTok. Like, TikTok might get to it before anybody else. They're working on it too.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for one of these messaging platforms to add the ability to do like Vine videos. Bring that back.
Yes. Yeah. Like TikTok kind of tried to be Vine a little bit, but they keep like ballooning the amount of time that the videos can be. They're up to like 10 minutes now, I think. And I'm like, I'm sorry, if I wanted to watch a YouTube video, I would go to YouTube.
Exactly.
You should be limiting me to 10 seconds. That's where the genius videos are. Bring back Vine.
Well, unfortunately, that was bought by Twitter, and you know what happened there. So,
yeah.
Anyway, well, let's move on. We're going to go over to some general tech news. We got the Casetify stealing from Dbrand.
Yes. Now, okay, I had to bring this up just because I thought it's very funny. Of course, if you're gonna try to plagiarize different stuff from companies, Dbrand is one of the worst companies you could choose to copy from.
Oh yeah,
because they're gonna rip you a new one everywhere that they can.
Well, and the thing is, they're incredibly petty.
Exactly.
Like,
yes.
Dbrand went toe to toe with Sony over being petty jerks, and they won.
Yes.
So,
yeah, Dbrand is one. Like, if you don't follow them on social media, I don't care if you've never bought any of their products. You should follow them on whatever platform you use most because they're great.
Yep.
But so what happened was Dbrand and Zach from Jerry Rig Everything on YouTube have partnered up to make these cases and skins that show the internals of a phone. And they did a lot of work on these to actually, like, they didn't just scan the inside of the phone, because if you do that, it's actually kind of boring and dull.
It's boring. Yeah.
You know, they actually took time out of and made it look really good. They even threw in some little Easter eggs here and there that either Zach says in all of his videos or Dbrand is known for, and those things come into play very importantly later on. But so they did that, and then Casetify came out a little while ago with their what they call inside out cases and skins. And initially, this was even I don't know which worse, the initial ones or the ones that they copied from. But either way, the first ones they did, you could get these cases for almost any phone, but the problem is they only had the internals for iPhones. So you could buy a Samsung case, and on the back of it, it looked like an iPhone, like the inside of an iPhone.
It was even worse than that. They had the images of a single iPhone.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they took pictures of the internals of one iPhone and then put that on the back of all the iPhones and every other phone.
Yeah.
It was goofy looking.
It was, and we're also pretty sure that those pictures were taken from iFixit, is what is being reported right now. So that's also fun. Then they did fix that issue, kind of, by making the internals of the phones match the cases that they're supposed to be made for. So that was kind of nice. But then customers noticed that if they looked really closely, they could see a lot of these little Easter eggs that Zach and Dbrand put into their case designs. One of which that Zach says in a lot of his videos is glass and glass will break. That's one of his things that he always says. And Dbrand had, their big thing is a robot. So there's a certain few letters that they have that make it look like the word robot, kind of
robot. Yeah. On every one of their cases.
Yeah. And there's a few other little things that they threw in there that are very specific to Dbrand or Jerry Rig Everything. So, and Casetify did go through and took out some of these little Easter eggs. They didn't do a very good job. Not all of them, that's for sure. And what's even worse is they basically just copy and pasted the photos from Dbrand's website, and they didn't sharpen them up at all. They're really blurry. They don't look nearly as good.
Super low resolution images.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
It's not even like Casetify went, okay, and ordered one of every single skin from Dbrand's website and then did a high-resolution scan of those skins when they got them and then put them on the back of cases. That would have been like slimy and dirty and awful, but at least it would have taken some effort.
Mm-hmm.
What they actually did was went to their website, right-clicked, download image, so they got the super low resolution promotional image off of the website, and then they just put that on the back of and it looks so bad. Like, to the extent where they were removing some of the Easter eggs, like, you can see where they just dragged a white box in Photoshop over top of the Easter egg that was there, and then typed some black text on top of it, and you can see where the corners of the box, like, clip into the surrounding graphics and stuff like that, and where the edge of the box is a slightly different color of white than the rest of the background and stuff.
Yeah.
It's so low effort. Like,
So bad.
I am not a professional graphic designer, and I could have done such a better job than they did. It was awful.
I mean,
just cracks me up.
As somebody that used to work in this industry, I worked for a screen protector and case manufacturer for a few years, and I was in charge of making designs for phones, mostly screen protector designs, but also different things for skins that we made in cases and whatnot. I understand the effort that it takes to do these things. And like the company I worked for made designs for hundreds of phones that you would never have ever heard of. And so it takes time. I know it takes time. But like Casetify is not a small company by any means. They've been around for a while. Like the company I worked for had at most 20 employees, at most, in its heyday. Like Casetify probably has more than that. And they have the money and they have the time to do this properly. But did they? Nope. It's just so bad. If you want to get a little more in-depth detail, go to Jerry Rig Everything on YouTube. He's got a video about it, explaining everything, explaining what, like, there's like Dbrand and him are suing Casetify over this. It's not just calling them out on social media. Like, they're going to federal court over this because they should. And and like Zach from Jerry Rig Everything, he even explains, he's like, I don't mind competition. I love competition. I want competition, but this is just downright theft. Like, they're not competing in any way, shape, or form. They're just stealing and calling it their own. And one of the best things that came out of this was Casetify on Twitter posted this little message saying, Casetify has always been a bastion of originality, and we hold pride in that. Which, right off the bat, nope. We can just take the rest of this and throw it in the trash.
Yep.
Because obviously that's not true.
That was a bold-faced lie. You got caught in your not bastion of originality right there.
Yeah.
If the next words of that tweet were not, the program manager who was responsible for this particular case that was stealing Jerry Rig Everything's design has been fired and everyone under them has received disciplinary action, then that tweet was utterly useless.
No, it then goes on to say, we are currently investigating a copyright allegation against us.
Sure.
We have immediately removed the designs in question from all platforms, which also wasn't entirely true because on their website, yes, all the designs were gone. But people were able to find them on Amazon and on Best Buy's website and different places like that. So, yeah, it's fun. It's
idiots.
Fun. Yeah. So I had to bring it up just because, like, if it would have been any other company other than Dbrand, I probably wouldn't have mentioned it. But I love Dbrand, and I really like Jerry Rig Everything. His videos are great. And so between Dbrand and him, I had to bring it up because both of them are very petty online, especially Dbrand. And it's just and it's funny. They also use this opportunity to launch a new set of skins. They're X-ray skins and cases that actually are really cool looking.
They are pretty sweet. I actually like them way better than the teardown skins.
I do too. They're a little more toned down. They're not as brightly colored because they look like X-rays because they are legitimate X-rays. They actually went and X-rayed phones and got those images. They did the work because they generally do. But yeah, it's funny. I had to mention it because Dbrand is great.
Awesome. Okay, we're going to move on. We're going to do some gaming news. Let's start off with everyone's favorite game, Cyberpunk 2077 launches version 2.1.
1.1.
It's basically, yeah. After our multiple years long demo period. So yeah, Cyberpunk 2077, they have released the release notes for version 2.1, which has not actually dropped yet, but it is coming shortly. And so we got a list of all the features that were being added, all the bugs and balance changes that were being made and stuff like that. One of the headlines is that I guess in the original game, they promised that, yes, there would be like a metro/subway system available, but they kind of like locked you out of it by having the player character's metro card automatically flagged so that you couldn't actually, like, you were denied entry to the metro, which is kind of a clever way to get around the whole, like, we haven't finished developing the metro system yet, but it's done. And now it's fast travel. Essentially, you use the metro system stations as fast travel points for the map. You walk up there, you flash your card, you decide where you want to fast travel to. But if you don't want to actually fast travel there, you can just get on the train and sit there and watch the entire city go by like you're actually riding a metro train, which cracks me up. Like, that is such a bizarre level of detail to go to that it's like, yes, you can use this as fast travel, but actually it's like basically, think of a big open world game like, I don't know, Red Dead Redemption 2 or something like that, where you pull open a fast travel interface and say, yeah, I want to fast travel to this place. And then instead of actually just immediately traveling there, it just shows you your horse riding the entire way there. I mean, okay, that
kind of does that actually right now.
That's kind of cool. Well, yeah, but does it like actually take you in real time instead of like, because it just they just drive you there.
In Red Dead Redemption 2, it'll give you basically say, I want to go here. You pinpoint on your map, and then you get on your horse, and then I think you put it in cinematic mode, and then the horse just follows the road all the way to there, and it'll change the camera angle and everything, and it just goes in real time.
Apparently,
so you can get robbed while the horse is going too, but you have to pay attention a little bit.
So apparently Red Dead also did this, which is actually the sort of bizarre attention to detail you kind of expect from Rockstar. So I guess that tracks. But yeah, so there you go. Fully functional metro system. Cyberpunk, CD Projekt Red, developers of Cyberpunk, have also announced that they're planning this to be the last big like feature update for Cyberpunk 2077. Which it's great that they finished the game before they abandoned it. That's good.
That was good.
I'm happy that happened. The devs for it are going to be moving on to The Witcher 4, as well as a Cyberpunk sequel, which they are now planning. I think we can all agree, CD Projekt Red, please finish this one first. That'd be great.
You would hope they would have learned from this first one, but you never know. You never know.
Really think so. It's like at this point, we're to the point now where everybody is looking back on the launch of Cyberpunk 2077 and going, yeah, but I mean, The Witcher 3 was like, it is one of the most respected RPGs in history. Millions of completely satisfied players of that game. And that one was also kind of super buggy and broken at launch. And in response to that, I would say, like, you're not necessarily wrong, but from what I understand, most of the bugs in The Witcher 3 at launch were like, oh no, Geralt randomly T-posed in a cutscene or something like that. Not like, oh no, now I can't complete the main quest line of the game because something completely out of my control happened.
Someone's face didn't load and all I see are eyeballs and teeth.
or like, oh no, the police just randomly spawn on you every time you get in a car and kill you, and you literally can't play the game because you're constantly being killed by the police and stuff like that. Like, Cyberpunk 2077 had fundamental game-breaking bugs when it was launched that made it impossible for like 90% of players to finish the game, and the 10% that did finish the game had a miserable time while doing so. The Witcher 3 was at least mostly fun to play. So, yeah. So the big question, right? I have two questions actually about this. Is can we think of a bigger redemption arc for a game than what has happened for Cyberpunk 2077? Because following the version 2.0 launch and the Phantom Liberty expansion, pretty much everybody seems to be extremely positive about Cyberpunk 2077 now. And I cannot think of a game that was so universally maligned and then managed to be so universally praised after several years of additional development to the extent of this. Like, the only one that comes close is No Man's Sky.
I was going to say, what about that No Man's Sky?
Yeah, like, and I would still say that while the game is significantly better regarded now, it has not, like, still has not delivered on what they originally promised. And a lot of people have never forgiven them for that and are never going to pick up the game because they're like, look, it's just not the game that I wanted to play. Whereas most people now are all like, yes, this is what you promised when you originally announced Cyberpunk, and I'm happy now. Like, so, but that's the only one that I can think of that came close. Like,
I think that's the only one.
Other massive flops like this are stuff like Duke Nukem, like the one most recent attempt to make a Duke Nukem game. Yeah, that was what it was called.
Yep.
And stuff like that, like, all this hype, Daikatana and that kind of thing. They had an enormous amount of hype. They launched, everybody hated it, but they never came back from that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, none of them.
I think the major difference is because, like, yes, there's a lot of hype behind this game, but the potential was still there despite all the bugs. The story was still worth waiting for, and that's why this one is the way it is, because everyone knew it's like, okay, once this is actually playable, it could still be a really good game. Whereas other games, they had all the hype and they just weren't good games. It doesn't matter if there were bugs or not. The games themselves just weren't up to par with what people were expecting. Whereas this one, the game now, everyone is like, okay, the game is playable and is good.
Right. Whereas if you take Duke Nukem Forever and make it playable, it's still a crappy game.
Right.
It's still a Duke Nukem game. I don't know what you were expecting. I'm really glad that that franchise died. So, the follow-up question then, given the revelation that the devs of the actual development team for Cyberpunk are now moving on to a sequel to Cyberpunk, was this redemption arc good enough to justify a sequel? I'm not sure I buy that.
That's why when you actually said they were going to do a Cyberpunk sequel, I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's like, I'm happy the game is good now, and I probably will pick it up at some point. You know, they're going to release a definitive edition of the game that'll include the expansion pack and all that stuff. I'll probably buy that at some point in the future and take like 4 years to play through it because that's how I roll. But I don't know if I'm like looking at this going, oh yeah, this whole thing is good enough to justify a sequel. Though I don't know, maybe I'll get the game and play it and be like, oh yes, please make another one. So maybe I'm not informed enough, but
I think in this situation, it all depends on the sequel.
That's fair.
Because
what story
if
they
the game
to tell or bring forward.
Exactly, like if this game is as good as it is, they have to take their time and produce as good or better a game the second time around and get it right the first time. You can have minor bugs. That's perfectly acceptable. Just not anything like what Cyberpunk originally was.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think if the sequel is as good, at least as good, or at least, close to, then okay, maybe it'll justify it. But that's the problem. Like, I don't think you can really say yay or nay on if this game justifies a sequel until the sequel actually comes out. And they're like, okay, that was a bad idea. Like some movies, like, no, that should never have been, ever made a sequel to that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess maybe the real question is like, Or maybe it just comes down to CD Projekt Red's ability to learn from their mistakes. If they have learned their lesson, then okay, maybe we're okay. Maybe this redemption arc seems to indicate that they have learned that they should finish their games before they release them.
Weird.
So I don't know. We'll have to just wait and find out. I suspect that a Cyberpunk sequel probably launches after the next installation of The Witcher, considering that the next installation of The Witcher has actually officially been announced, and they haven't officially announced a Cyberpunk sequel at this point. So, that's 2028, 2029 kind of thing. Like,
I was going to say, if this sequel comes out before 2030, then it's not worth it.
That's probably fair. Yeah. Especially since I doubt we're going to see The Witcher 4 until like 2026, 2027 maybe. So yeah, there you go. Though if you've got Cyberpunk 2077 version 2.1 is coming, you can sit in the train to get anywhere in the city you want to go.
Yay. All right. Let's talk about another big game in the zeitgeist of all gaming.
Oh yeah.
GTA 6. There's a trailer that was scheduled for the 5th, but apparently it leaked.
Yeah. So
as of recording today.
As of recording, it's the 4th of December. I think it was 2 days ago. I think 2 days ago. Rockstar announced, or no, sorry. Not 2 days ago. What am I talking about? It's been like a month and a half or something like that since Rockstar officially said, yes, we're going to release a trailer for GTA 6. And that was all they said. Trailer, December 5th. And okay, so everybody's been looking forward to that with bated breath. And here we are on the 4th. This morning-ish, it got leaked. It was on YouTube, and Rockstar, to their credit, just bit the bullet and released it a day early. So if you want to watch it, you can go watch it on the Rockstar official YouTube channel. And I did watch. Did you watch it, Wes?
No, I did not.
You have not seen it?
No,
so
not yet.
It is, like, what we learn about it is it's going to be set in Vice City. So we have had games in Vice City before, which is the Grand Theft Auto universe version of Miami. And it's scheduled to launch in 2025. So I am not convinced that this was leaked, as opposed to quote unquote leaked. Like, I think that this may have been a deliberate thing that Rockstar did in order to drum up some more hype, as if the most hyped game in the history of video games needed more hype. I think we're all pretty well aware that Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming, Rockstar. Yes. It's okay. You don't need more media coverage. You've got all of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Was this leaked? Was it not actually leaked? Maybe it doesn't matter. But my question is, what do we think the odds are that this actually launches in 2025?
Wasn't Red Dead Redemption 2? Didn't they delay that twice?
Yes, I believe so.
So then I would say no. Well, okay, if they say launches 2025 January, then I'd be like, well, maybe
in December.
But if it's like launch anything after, say like March or after, then I would say no, it's 2026, early 2026. That would be my guess, just because.
And I think that's a reasonable guess. Rockstar's, to Rockstar's credit, I guess I should say, they have tended to do a pretty good job over the past few major releases that they have put out of actually, unlike Cyberpunk, waiting until the game is done to release it. The horse one that I was literally just talking about.
Red Dead Redemption.
Red Dead Redemption.
I just said it. Wow.
Look, it's horse Grand Theft Auto, okay? It's Grand Theft
I know this is controversial, but I like Red Dead better than that. Granted, I didn't.
It's because you like horses better than cars. There's nothing wrong with that. So, so yeah, when they launched RDR2, it actually was pretty done when it came out. Sure, there were bugs, there was some growing pains. It was nothing but it was nothing crazy, And GTA 5 launched in a pretty solid state, right? Like, it's obviously been maintained and re-released and turned into an online game. They have released the crap out of GTA 5 over the past frickin'. Has it been 10 years? It's been like 10 years since GTA 5 launched.
Was it Xbox One, PlayStation 4 era? That's when it launched, wasn't it?
Yeah, like toward the beginning of that era. Mm-hmm. Wow. So yeah, it's about time for GTA 6, I guess. But it does seem like, they're going to actually wait to launch the thing when it's ready. But that's, I guess they, at some point in time, had to ditch the entire code base for the game and restart the whole thing from scratch and yada, 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 a whole bunch of development hurdles to get over. And I don't think they're over all of them. I think that 2025 seems optimistic given their track record so far. Especially since the last technically major Grand Theft Auto release was the quote-unquote remaster of GTA 3 and Vice City. And was there another one that was included with that bundle? I can't remember, but it was awful. The remaster itself was terrible. Yeah. And then somebody found out that one of the games, they had just ported one of them to, like, they'd ported GTA 4 to PC and not actually done anything to it. And in fact, the version of the game that was being sold on Steam for PC was not actually a legit copy of the game. It was a cracked version of the game that they had downloaded via a torrent and then posted that to Steam because they didn't want to go to the trouble of removing their own anti-cheat, anti-piracy features from the console version. Those had already been removed by somebody else and then put up illegally for piracy, and Rockstar just grabbed the pirated copy of the game and released that on Steam. Like there was one of the older GTA games that was the case. That's what they were doing with it. So, Rockstar is not above making the misstep here and there. And so it is entirely possible that we may see this launch in 2025 and have another Cyberpunk situation on our hands. But fingers crossed, that won't happen. They'll actually wait until the game is done to be released. But there you go. GTA 6 trailer has launched. The hype train is in full steam, and it's going to be at least a year and a bit before it ends. And probably quite a bit longer than that, let's be honest.
Gotcha. Well, excited for the people that are excited for this game.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and move on. We're going to talk a little bit on PlayStation, just a little bit here. PlayStation users will soon lose access to all purchase discovery content. Earlier in the year, we had talked about actually that PlayStation is starting to get away from selling TV and movies and things off of their store. And well, what sucks, they did say that if you've already purchased something, you'd still be able to have access to it. Well, this is actually taking that away from Discovery. Yeah. They said they've been just sending out notifications to people, and they've just been saying in the statement, it just ends with, thank you for your continued support, but because of licensing agreements, this is why we can no longer be provided for the Discovery content. So
yeah.
Then it says, peace out, suckers.
Yeah, peace out, suckers.
Basically.
Yeah, so I mean, this more, I mean, obviously this sucks. But I guess this is digital life, content stuff right here.
This is the risk with digital content that we have always had. Like, what happens if Steam ceases to exist? That all my games are gone, Like, this is the concern. And you kind of hope that by buying in on these platforms that are owned by giant companies like Sony, that you're not going to have those problems. Mm-hmm. But man, I guess Sony isn't, I felt bad for all the people that lost their content when, like, was it Voodoo went belly up, or
Is it Voodoo
Voodoo's still
Walmart?
around.
Voodoo is owned by Walmart, yeah.
Voodoo's Walmart. I'm thinking of somebody else. Not Blockbuster.
No, it was after.
But
No,
there was one of those.
Yeah.
There was one of those that was like an early player in the whole digital content distribution for TV shows and movies that kind of ceased to exist. And you were able to bring some of your digital content over to other platforms, but not all of it.
Not
and
all.
So, yeah, you just lost it. It was gone. But, it's like, oh, okay, but I'm buying my stuff from Apple or I'm buying my stuff from Google and that kind of thing. And, well, yes, a lot of that, or at least movies anyways, you have a little bit of an insurance policy by going through something like Movies Anywhere so that you can redeem your content on multiple different platforms from multiple providers.
That's only some. I think there's quite a few that don't do Movies Anywhere.
That's a subset of movies, and it's only movies. So your Discovery content, that's like, if you bought the entirety of Mythbusters on Sony's platform, that sucks. And I'm sorry, but Sony owes you restitution for that. Like Mythbusters in particular. The rest of Discovery's content, like whatever, nobody cares. But Mythbusters, that matters. So yeah, I don't know. We yet again we come back to this whole conversation of like, should you be buying stuff digitally or should you be buying your physical copies of stuff? And I don't know. It's a tough question to ask.
It's funny. I heard this conversation I heard on. It had to have been another I can't remember what podcast it was, but it was another podcast somewhere. But they were talking more along the lines of music, but it's the same thing. Like technology is coming back around in a way. Like especially if you look at music, especially it's like a lot of artists are starting to print records again.
Yeah,
and like you can even buy cassette tapes of different new albums, which I don't do that.
That one I don't get.
I don't understand that, but that is an option for some artists out there. But I understand records because records is a great sound and quality and stuff like that. But you can now do that. You can still buy CDs, which is a decent way to have a physical copy of your music. It's not the best way, but it's a good option.
It is. No, it's a great option.
It's definitely, I understand the convenience of streaming. I use Spotify on a regular basis. I respect these. Well, okay, I can't say I respect these companies. I respect what they're doing when it comes to giving us easy access to all this music. It is great, but it's coming around even harder when it comes to movies and TV shows than it is with music. Because a lot of the biggest problem right now is there's so many different places to get to watch certain shows, and you have to pay for a monthly subscription to every place in order to watch shows. And I mean, I get it's kind of our own fault. We were kind of asking for this in a way. We wanted that a la carte feature, but the companies found a way to screw that up. And
they sure did.
So, like, buying physical media is still and always will be the best way to make sure you are able to watch or listen or have access to whatever it is that you want to have access to. Because if if your only option is to stream it somewhere, that can go away really fast and without any notice, and the company that's in charge of it just doesn't care. They do not care about your ability to watch their stuff. As long as you're paying them, they couldn't care less.
And it's very, very frustrating. Like, I understand that this is a difficult problem to solve for these companies too, because it's license agreements for content that's owned by somebody else.
Right.
Discovery content is owned by HBO Max or I guess, what are they called now? Warner Discovery, whatever. Anyways. And I'm sure that they just want to lean into the whole, like, you want to watch our content, you have to subscribe to Max. And that's the only way you can get it. And so, pulling it off of these other side, they don't care. They're totally happy with that. Sony doesn't really have any control over it. They can't keep the content because they don't own the content that they sold you. It's like, oh man, what a freaking weird thing, like, to have happen. And then there are stuff like, I wonder about this. Great shows that I have watched on stuff like, you know, I love The Orville, and I purchased all 3 seasons of The Orville from Apple's storefront. And I also love Foundation on Apple TV Plus, and I can't buy that anywhere. Like, I could get physical copies of The Orville if I really wanted to, if I wanted to make sure, yes, I'm always going to have access to The Orville. But if I want to make sure I always have access to seasons of Foundation, you can't buy physical copies of that. You can't buy the show anywhere. You have to subscribe to TV Plus. And it just could vanish at any time based on some kind of like content disagreement between Apple, who own part of the show, but they are not the actual production studio. And if they get into an argument with the actual studio that produced the show, then it's just going to vanish. And we're in this really weird situation right now where, I mean, I've never not been an advocate for piracy, but let's be honest, I would kind of advocate in favor of it at this point.
Friends in the office there, huh? There,
Landon is showing off his collection of physical media. Yeah, and like for older shows, you can totally, just get like a Blu-ray box set of Friends or The Office. That's totally an option. You want Star Trek on Blu-ray, you can get Star Trek on Blu-ray. You don't have to subscribe to Paramount Plus. But frickin' these new streaming shows that are only on streaming platforms, they don't have physical copies of them.
Nope.
And so the only way to make sure that you're going to have access to it in the future is to illegally download it.
Unfortunately.
And what a stupid world that is.
I mean, and
so
if
dumb.
you do have physical copies of certain things and you want digital access to them, create a Plex server or something like that. So you there are easy ways to get this media digitized if it doesn't already have a digital version that you can download from some way. Which, I mean, if it's older media and it had one at one point, you might not have that access anymore. But you can easily rip from DVDs or Blu-rays onto your computer as long as you have a disk drive of some sort. Which those are also not that. I mean, you can buy a USB disk drive for $50 that you can rip from these DVDs and whatnot to your computer, and then put them in a Plex server or something like that you can access from other devices. Then you have them digitally, but you also have physical copies of them. And even with the Plex server, that's not going away. Like, at least your digital copy of it. Like, Plex itself might eventually go under. I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Yeah, probably.
But it could
in the near
happen.
Future.
So, I mean, you would just have to switch to a different server platform, which is not hard to do, or create your own for that matter, which is also not difficult to do.
No.
So there are options. It's just, it takes time. It takes effort, which is, that's always been the case. It's kind of unfortunate in some ways. Some are going to be harder than others to do. Some is going to be less legal than others to do. But that's where these companies have put us. They've created this situation for themselves.
Yep.
Do you remember the good old days? We said this where Netflix was the only one. Oh,
yeah. That was what we really wanted. Is we wanted all of our content available conveniently in a single place, and we were willing to pay for it. That's what we had for a beautiful 5 years.
It was great.
It was
about
even
a decade ago.
It was even starting to look even better when Disney came out with Movies Anywhere, and it is still a thing. Like, I can access a lot of movies on Amazon Prime, on Google Play Movies, on Disney. Like, there are, I've got plenty of movies that I can get on all these places, which is really convenient. But they've kind of stopped pushing that as a thing.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. And they've stopped the idea of buying movies even digitally.
Yeah.
Like, they just want you to sign up for their platform, which I get why they're doing that. I don't hate the idea behind it, but it's just not the best option.
It's too fragmented. It's turned into cable television all over again.
Yeah.
And now they're offering ad-supported tiers for all of them, too.
And you have to pay for the ad-supported tier, which is even worse.
Exactly. So it's just like cable TV. Like, really what they have done is they presented a solution to a problem that we all had that was cable TV and satellite. And everybody was like, that's great. And they jumped on it. And then the entire industry went, awesome. Now let's turn it into the thing that you were running away from.
Yep.
Yep.
Cool.
Guess what? We're going back to piracy.
Yep.
Oh, man, that section actually went on a little further than I thought it would. But yeah, PlayStation users, sorry. And to put on top on that, I've been noticing on, say, like Microsoft's Xbox side, they've stopped giving rewards for buying movies. They've been, I don't know, this digital content for movies and content like that there's change happening. So I don't.
Yep.
Anywho, let's go ahead and move on. We're going to talk a little bit more of Microsoft. During the ABK deal, Microsoft revealed that they were wanting to do their own mobile store, available, put Microsoft Store on other platforms for mobile and things. Well, Phil Spencer's been going around doing a lot of interviews for all sorts of things, and one of the things that he had talked about was what was mentioned when they asked him about this Xbox mobile store. He did say that they are currently working on the mobile Xbox store with partners. And that's as far as he went. And the question I wanted to bring up, a talking point, is who are the partners? Who do you think the partners would be? And it can't be the obvious, obviously Epic.
Oh, I was going to say Apple and Google.
I think that none of those are right. So I think Microsoft obviously has bought a whole bunch of mobile game studios and publishers. King is a mobile game publisher. So like, they're working with them, obviously.
Yes.
But I would say that they're probably partnering up with like a Samsung or a Nokia or whatever. And they're going to launch, their little store on an Android handset alongside the Google Play Store and other stuff, and just promote this as all like, hey, here's your single source for all your games on your phone. And it's going to be a partnership with a handset manufacturer. That's what you think? That's my guess.
Do you think? So I was going to look it up. I didn't see. Did the EU finally tell Apple to open up? Is that a thing?
It's not officially official yet. They're working on a bill to make that a thing, but
the EU has successfully managed to force Apple to allow side loading of apps onto the iPhone, and Apple is doing it. They have an appeal in process right now, but they were unable to get a stay on the requirement to actually put it into place, and that's coming due at the beginning of next year. So they have already announced and displayed the software feature as it is going to appear, and they've opened it up so developers have access to play with it in developer betas of iOS. And it's only in the EU. Like, it's region locked. So if you are outside of the European Union, you cannot sideload onto iPhones. That's just not a thing. But if you are in the EU, you'll be able to do that. And that's as far as we've gotten so far.
Interesting. No, I just curious on it, because we talked about it obviously last year. They said they wanted this to actually hit places in March of this year. So
yeah,
or this next year. Sorry,
they might be able to do it in the EU on iPhone, but that's it. Android, they have a little bit more leniency there.
I know Google's been kind of a stickler about it, so I didn't know if they would be like no, or how they would do that.
Well, you've always been able to have third-party app stores on Android. It's just Google doesn't advertise that, nor do they have to. And they also, like, if you sideload apps from other websites, they definitely inform you that this is not the safest thing you could be doing, and you should be downloading this from the Play Store rather than wherever else you are getting it. And that would be the same, probably is going to be the same way with iOS in the EU, is they're going to warn you out the butt, because it's just and legitimately so, because there could be issues sideloading apps. And there always will be. But as long as you're getting it from legitimate sources, like if you are like vetting out these sources, it's not going to be as big a deal, because, I mean, like I said, this has been a thing on Android forever, and there hasn't been any major issues with it for a long time. And if there are issues, it's generally the user's fault Has nothing to do with Android, has nothing to do with iOS,
True.
has nothing to do with whatever operating system you're doing. It's the same thing with a computer. If you download something from a stupid website, you're the idiot. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
That's going to be the case, and they're going to get warned about it because they want to warn you this is probably not the safest thing, and if something goes wrong, it's your fault.
Gotcha. Basically, listener, what it comes right down to is if you are on a website to download a piece of software and there are multiple download buttons and you are not crystal clear which one of them is directly associated with the piece of software you want to download, leave.
Yes.
Just don't, like, it's not that it's not okay to download software from those sites. It's that if you aren't comfortable with exactly which button you should be clicking to get exactly what you want, you don't know enough to do it safely. So don't. Just walk away. It's okay. Just leave it alone.
Even if it is Epic's actual website, just don't do it.
That's genuinely true. Yes.
All right, we're going to move on here. So in the news, lots of people have been talking about Microsoft and their changes for the rewards program. They've been changing stuff on the Xbox. They've been taking certain rewards programs off and moving it so it's more seamless on the actual Xbox. But they've been making a lot of different changes. One of them that I wanted to say was they are actually giving less rewards.
I noticed this.
And making it more complicated to get, which is really annoying. So the first thing, let's talk about this. Less rewards. So usually with rewards, reward little things that they're like, hey, check this out. You get 10 points, get 5 points here. Well, they've lowered it down to 1 to 2 points.
Yep.
Ouch. That sucks. They also, for the Bing search stuff, they actually took away the 20 extra points you get for searching on Microsoft Edge.
Yep.
They took that away. But people are now posting and taking pictures and showing that, some people, they try to do their searches really fast and be done with them. They are now going to give you, after you search 3 times, a 15-minute wait time to search, to earn more for searches.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have been noticing this over the course of about the past 5 days. And I'm just like, progressively, it's been getting more and more. I'm noticing more and more stuff. I'm like, my gosh, they've really hamstrung this. Look, I've got Game Pass out until next year, like next December.
Right.
And I'm sorry, Microsoft, when I hit that, I'm canceling. Like, I'm not paying money for Game Pass. It's not like it's a bad service or anything like that. I just don't use it enough to justify it. So
justify the $10 a month.
Yeah. And so and Phil Spencer specifically said is all like, look, if we can't get enough people, especially on PC, to sign up for Game Pass, then we're going to have to cancel the entire Xbox division of Microsoft. And I'm sitting here like, well, this isn't going to help you.
No. I know they're making changes, they're adjusting things, they're moving stuff. I get it, but this hurts because, like, I don't know. I've been doing it for years now.
Yeah.
And even like today, I looked at it and I was like, I need to do my rewards. And I sat there and I was like, do I really want to type something and wait 15 minutes and then type it? Like, I'm just like, I might slowly be stopping this on that side. Obviously, I can earn rewards on still, like, for gaming and other things, but for like an actual user that's not gaming, like say Landon, that just does the searches. Well, I don't know if you still do, but
I haven't even done the searches for a while. I just do like the regular, like the quizzes and stuff that get you like 50 points a day is all. Well, less now because of the 2 point. Like all of them are 2 points. Like, so I didn't notice the search. Like have to wait 15 minutes, and that makes me like I've been debating. Do I want to start doing that again to get more points? But now, don't want to do that. Like, and I didn't use the points for gaming. Obviously, I actually bought my Apple Watch mostly with Microsoft points. Like, I redeemed them for Target gift cards, like as many as it took to get the most of the money to buy my Apple Watch, because I don't even know how many points it took, but I had a lot of freaking points. built up over multiple years of doing this. But at this point, it's like, I'm going to cash out and just call it, because it's just getting ridiculous. It's not worth it anymore, you know?
Yeah.
It kind of is. I know the main purpose of the program was to get people to use Bing. Like, that's the main purpose.
Right.
And now the people still aren't using Bing. I mean, they'll use Edge, but now Bing is just, I mean, even Microsoft is getting away from Bing. Now everything's Copilot. And so this could, in my mind, I'm thinking this could be why, but because they haven't docked the rewards for, say, like, for the gaming stuff. So Xbox rewards and things like that. They haven't docked any of that. But the searches, the stuff on there, still, I'm like, oh, that. So I don't know. I haven't heard what they're going to do, what the end term is for this. But I guess for Caleb, you have a year, Microsoft.
Yep.
You have a year.
Fix this. Because, like, man, I was doing my searches. That's all I was really doing. I would just every day would do my searches, and it was fine. But this is gonna kill the whole program for me. I will not use Edge. I will not use Bing. Like, you have not converted me to any of your services with this. So if you want me to stop using them, okay, that's fine.
Okay,
I don't.
This, yeah. I mean, I was a big toter for this. I always was trying to tell people, look, just do the searches. You'll get, even if you don't game. Like, look at Landon. He got an Apple Watch, you know?
Yep.
So, I don't know. Just, it sucks. I put on the bullet point here. This hurts. Because now I'm like, oh, even I'm just like, do I really want to do my searches today? Do I have time to do my searches? Because before, I could breeze through it, no problem. But that muscle memory of just what I was doing, okay, done. But now it's like I have to do a search, then wait, and then do another search, then wait. Oh my goodness. Anywho, so I'll probably be more, if I find anything else or any more news on this or what they're doing, I'll try and keep everybody up to date on this, because I don't know, we all used it one form or another, so you'll definitely hear about it.
Yep.
So. All right, and that's the end of our gaming section here. I believe that's the end of the episode, unless Landon, hey, you got one more thing today?
Oh yeah. Now, this has to go back to our Grand Theft Auto conversation, and I had to hold back some laughter when Caleb was talking, because this is directly tied to something that he mentioned beforehand. So, if it's one more thing, generally for me, listener, you know, if you've listened for a while, this has to do with mobile gaming. Usually, that's what this is. And unfortunately, the big player in mobile game, well, not big. The most news coming out of mobile gaming last little while is Netflix. Also, unfortunately,
weirdly,
yeah, strangely. I mean, it's funny because their titles have not done super well, even though they get big named. Like, they get some big name titles out there, but nobody plays the games for more than a week because, I remember that game, or that game's awesome on console. I'll play it on phone. No, it's not that good. And that's probably going to be the case here. So Netflix is bringing some Grand Theft Auto games to mobile. I mean, yes, there are already some GTA games on mobile, but the games in question are ones that Caleb just happened to say were not that great that long ago. It's that trilogy that he was mentioning. And the games in question are GTA 3, GTA Vice City, and GTA San Andreas. And they will be bringing these games to mobile on December 14th. As long as you are a Netflix subscriber, you will be able to download these games on Android or iOS and be able to play them once you've signed in to your Netflix account on these games. I can't guarantee that they will be any better than they were on console or PC, because it's probably the same gameplay, and who knows how the controls are going to be because it's mobile. So, yay!
And I feel like we should clarify, listener, that we're not saying that Vice City and San Andreas are bad games. I'm well aware that they are much beloved games by people, but the remasters of those games are unabashedly horribly done.
We'll put
And
remaster in quotes.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the version of these games. Yes.
That's what's going to be showing up. It's the remaster trilogy of these games. So just, if it's nighttime or the weather is slightly inclement, just plan on not being able to see anything.
Maybe the small screen will be good for these. It's kind of like old games, playing them on a CRT versus you're like, oh, I need to have it on the CRT screen,
No, I don't think that's going to help.
Yeah.
It's going to make everything immeasurably worse. Yeah. Especially when half the screen is covered up by touchscreen control joysticks and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That's awful.
I mean, I will say you can get a Bluetooth controller if you want. That is a thing that is very doable on both Android and iOS. But maybe don't use that with these games.
It's entirely possible that you can get a Bluetooth controller, hook it up to play these games, and the controls will still be covering up half the screen, because I have totally seen that before. The touchscreen controls are still there, even if you're using a controller, and it's just like, WTF is going on right now?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's my one more thing. It's not necessarily a great one more thing, but it's one more thing.
It is. Yep. It's one more thing. You can't go wrong with that. Awesome. Well, dear listener, this is the end of the episode. We appreciate you listening. If you want to get a hold of us, you can on our social media platforms. Also, on our website at callingallplatforms.com. If you want to check out any videos, I don't think any of them are newer, but if you're behind, you can still check them out at YouTube.
Be really behind at this point.
All right, dear listener, have a good week.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Calling All Platforms is a production of Supporter Sound Studios. To learn more about how you can support the podcast, go to www.patreon.com/callingallplatforms.